Hey y'all, it's Anime Kim, and today I'm going to be reviewing the third episode of Kemurikusa, and I gotta say, while this episode wasn't the lit action episode that I was expecting off of the hype from the second episode when some of the characters saying that going to a different island usually involves the death of someone, I like how at the very least it answered a few questions. Like, for example, what made those train tracks? That it was actually the little Rins that actually made it. And I like how at the same time it actually brings up a few interesting questions, like how the hell do these people survive? And then when it was nice to get an explanation by Rin that they survive off of the water, and that's really all they need. It can operate on that for a large amount of time because it makes their leaves moist. Because if it dries up, it's a pretty bad thing. So I kind of like that kind of stuff too. And at the same time, it provides a weak point so that it kind of helps to help stabilize our main characters, and it kind of helps to make them vulnerable so that if they are involved in a future fight, it will actually make the fights feel like they have more tension now that we know they have weak points that can be hit and aimed at, and they could possibly die because they gotta protect those leaps. So that was a nice element about this episode. It brings up that point for future episodes. Didn't say it explicitly, but it implied it pretty well. Then aside from that, it was also nice to get to see some character development for Rin, how she's slowly getting closer with Wakaba even though she continues denying it. And yes, I am on the Rin and Wakaba ship hype train, and I'm not gonna step away from that fucking hype train until either one of those two dies, which I hope they don't, or some new character shows up, but I doubt it because I can just feel the chemistry. Because it was nice how Wakaba just subconsciously protects something that Rin really liked, and then Rin says Wakaba, and that was a great way of bonding them pretty well. And even though Rin says she doesn't trust Wakaba even after that, but she does thank him, I like how at the very least it's some progression in the relationship that'll probably help mellow Rin out. And simultaneously, in the episode, it was pretty obvious that since Rin wasn't having eye contact with Wakaba as she was blushing, she probably doesn't really mean that. She probably does trust Wakaba a bit more. And I like how the actress conveyed that through her thoughts, what exactly Rin was having on the face. Good job from the voice actress there. And then aside from that, I like the beautiful backgrounds in the episode. They were popping. The CG looked good. Especially like this background shot that had like this Ferris wheel on this space shuttle. They looked really beautiful. Then aside from that, I like how it expands on some of the lore. How there was this chick called Ryoko that helped them out, helped them to learn how to grow Midori trees. I'm assuming she's dead because they haven't mentioned what happened to her, but maybe that could lead to a future plot point. That was pretty interesting. And then I like how it mentioned that it was rumored that there might have been people that lived there ages ago, which is also pretty nice too because all the buildings look pretty beat up, so it does kind of look like it might have been some kind of apocalyptic event that killed everyone. Who knows? But that's what makes this anime interesting, to see how many of those questions it's going to answer that's brought up. They're all relatively interesting fucking questions, and it was even like how it explained even more some of the lack of knowledge that Rin and her sisters had, because when it mentions that they're essentially haven't seen any other humans, they've only known each other since they were born. I kind of like that plot point brought up, because at the very least it would make any possible discovery have more impact in the show, because not only would we the audience find out, they would also have to discover it to the sisters and Wakaba. So that's pretty nice too. And then aside from that, this episode did a good job of presenting the plot, some of the plot information through natural dialogue, like how you have Wakaba learn stuff about the Kemurikusas, and how you have the little Rins, the more new unique metals they eat, the more they can multiply and make more of them. That was all interesting and vital information, so that when it does happen in a future episode, it doesn't feel like an ass pull. It's setting itself up for possible event where they might multiply again. So I kind of like that element too. And aside from that, I also like how you have Wakaba eating the Kemurikusas randomly without even thinking about eating it, because thinking on it during the live reaction, I was like, wouldn't he be careful? But then again, he hasn't had anything to eat. So it's realistic that he would have that kind of expression. And aside from that, I gotta say, this episode just had all the elements of pretty nice and calming episode, I gotta say. We found out a lot more about the little Rins. We got to make some decent plot progression because they've gone through a few islands and they haven't found water, but things are getting slightly more dangerous. And we got to see some character development between Wakaba and Rin, because Rin's getting closer to Wakaba even though she's not noticing it. Animation and art is actually pretty good. It was stable this episode. While there wasn't anything as well animated as the first episode, for the most part, this is the episode that had the best calm animation, which is nice. No awkward CG fingers that were on Wakaba this week. And the soundtrack was sweet and pleasant, and I'm going to rate this a 6.5 out of 10. Just a slightly, actually a good amount above average. So anyways, guys and girls, these are my thoughts on the episode. Comment down your thoughts on the episode below in the comment section. Rate the video, subscribe if you want to see more reactions or reviews, and I'll see you guys later if you subscribe for more. Alright everyone, bye bye.